But we have the temporary protection on both the east and west wings, as well as the north and the south. So on the north side of the building, we have a hallway to allow people to go from the east to west wings and protect them from the construction zone. And then on the east and west wings, full height barricades to protect everyone from entering the construction zone. So the scaffold bears down below. It's also reshored in the cafeteria room, and then the scaffold extends on up. The work actually starts above that 4th floor catwalk. This is where we stage all of our equipment and tools. This is also the grade access scaffold, where we primarily access the exterior scopes of work, the exterior work areas. And once we actually get ready to start removing the large cornerstones at the spring line, we're going to install an elevator in this scaffolding system. The stones weigh approximately 2,300 pounds each, and so we'll be taking one stone down at a time and taking one stone up at a time. So we have to have special designed material elevators to be able to hoist those stones up and down. The stones will come off the wall from on around. They'll go onto a racetrack cart on the outside, wheel it around onto this platform, come over to the end, and then there's going to be a hoistway. So the stone will get connected to the overhead hoist. We'll lower the stone and the cart and all in one piece all the way down to the platform that's on the 3rd floor roof. And then the stone gets back on its wheels, goes along the platform over to the material elevator, and then it'll go down to the ground. From there, we're going to pick it up with a forklift, take it over into the laydown yard, clean it, restore it, repair it, and then it'll follow the same path once it's ready to come back up. So everything that you see that's standing here is completely self-supported. So we have a series of guy wires that allow the scaffold to freestand and not actually anchor into the facade itself. And then what they're building now is the scaffold that's going to enclose the dome. And we're going to actually enclose the entire dome with scaffold and weather protection so that it'll be watertight and allow us to perform the repairs to the spring line and the balustrade deck in a controlled environment. The primary reason for the project is the water infiltration at the spring line. That leads to allowing water inside the building. And so right at the bottom of the gold dome, where it meets the limestone, there's 3 courses or 3 bands of limestone cornice pieces that essentially, when the building was built, there's no through-wall flashing behind it. And so that area where the gold shell meets the limestone, that area leaks. So the scope of work here is to actually remove 3 courses of limestone all the way around, expose that area, install a lead-coated copper flashing system, and then reinstall the salvaged limestone that was taken out. Once that's done, that gets reintegrated with the gold dome, and it'll no longer leak. It's going to look exactly the same with a nice facelift. You see a lot of the organic growth and everything that's up on the limestone itself. That's all going to be cleaned off. The upper drum above the balustrade, that gets repointed and also gets cleaned off. So it'll essentially have a nice new clean look, but more importantly, it'll perform as it's supposed to. And so in addition to that, which is really the primary scope of work, the other things that we're going to do on the outside of the building, on the dome itself, there are several areas where the metal seams have failed that allow water in, so those are going to be repaired. The gray coating, the high performance coating, is going to be replaced. We're going to install new high performance coating in the gray areas. The gold itself, there are several areas where that needs to be reinstalled or repaired. So we're going to be installing new 5-carat gold leaf gilding to make those repairs. The portal windows, there's 16 of those portal windows on around the dome. That also has various conditions that allow water to infiltrate there. So those portal windows are also going to be removed, reconfigured, and replaced, and reintegrated into the existing system. And then up at the very top, at the observation deck, there are some metal seam repairs, the handrail needs repaired, and other various gilding and gold leaf repairs. There were failed drainage systems. So some of the drain pipes had failed up at the balustrade deck area, and that let water come down inside into the rotunda. And that water is what ultimately damaged the inside of the plaster between the windows at the colonnade. And so what happens for this project, what we're going to be doing is essentially replacing the drain pipe system in its entirety from the balustrade deck level all the way down below the windows, below the colonnade. That drain pipe that's going to be replaced will also be lined with fiberglass. So it'll have a secondary lining system inside of it. These pipes are very hard to get to. They're behind all the existing building finishes. And so once we put new pipes in, we don't want any type of chance that they're going to leak again. So it's a completely redundant system. On the inside of that balustrade deck, on the inside is what they call the gutter. So that's where the inner dome meets the outside wall. The water that was essentially coming in at the spring line comes down the inside wall, hangs in that gutter, and goes into the drains. That gutter system also gets removed and replaced. It all gets reconfigured, new waterproofing, new terminations, new integrations, and gets replaced in its entirety. All the work happens at this elevation with all the clay tile walls, interior finishes, interior historical painting, and repairs. That all happens at this elevation. So all of the interior plaster that you see, all of the finishes that you see from the bottom of the windows at the colonnade, from there on up to the bottom of the dome, that's all going to be removed. All of the structural clay tile gets replaced, and then all of the plaster gets reinstalled and new paint. And so that essentially happens from the bottom of the windows all the way up to the bottom of the dome. This is the elevation we call the dance floor, and this is essentially the top of the scaffold system, with the exception of the rolling towers. So once we perform all the repairs below and we're ready to make the small isolated repairs to the plaster and repaint the interior surface, the painters and the plasterers will utilize the rolling scaffold, and they'll essentially move the scaffold on around however they need it to access the interior surface area to paint it and repair it.